right?
This meeting is being recorded. I don't know how I'm the host, but it seems to work.
Yeah, because I made you the host, right? So you should be able to record. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Saad is out today. I'm gonna chair the meeting. So this is the monthly CSI community meeting. The agenda is here online. So yes, Saad already mentioned he's out of the office today. The first item of business is about now that modify volume has been merged, when should we do the next CSI release? Saad recommends that we get in change block tracking in order or in time for 1.29. Xing, is that going to be acceptable for the modify volume changes if we don't do a release until sometime in the middle of 1.29?
Yeah, I think that should be fine. So I think we just need to set some date and see when by when we should do that. So what is the status of the CBT CSI spec PR? See Carr and Prasad here. Does that need to be updated, right?
Yeah.
The PR has been updated with our findings as of whatever Prasad showed last week.
Oh, okay. So if it's up to date, we need to review again, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the CSI PR, right?
Yeah, not the CAP, the CSI spec.
Oh, the CSI. Okay, CSI PR, we haven't opened one yet, right?
No, there is one. There is one that Ivan have one opened.
Okay, I guess.
I don't know if that needs to have an update. Probably you guys want to check and see.
We did not update. At least I did not update it, so we'll have to go check.
Okay, so can you maybe sync up with Ivan? I believe he's the one who actually submitted that PR. Yeah, just see.
Okay.
Try to get that one updated as soon as possible. Then pin Ben to review that because we'll try to get that one merged and then cut the release together with this modified volume change.
Okay.
So
yes, I agree with that. If we can get the CBT CSI level spec change in good shape relatively quickly, then it makes sense to wait and try to do a release in the middle of CATES 129. That gives us, I don't know, you think like a month or two, Xing, to get it completely done? Or less than that?
I think they should, I mean, you guys should be able to update that one quick, right? It's not like a big PR. So, but of course, it takes a while for reviews to finish, right? So you and James and Saad need to feel okay with the change. So that will take some time, right? But I think update should not take that long. Can we get the update in by the end of this week? Carl, can you talk to Ivan about that? Because it's a pretty small PR, right?
Yeah, I think we got the content already. I mean, I put the proposed changes in the CAP, so.
Okay.
So do we need to discuss anything about the CBT feature in this meeting? Or is there nothing to discuss other than that we need to update the PR?
Are there any, because we actually discussed about a few meetings back, I forgot when, right? Remember, Ben, you were here. There was one meeting, I think.
I think, well, there were two proposed RPCs. There was one to like get the list of change blocks, and then there was a separate one to get the list of zero blocks. And I think there was discussion around, do we really need two separate APIs? Couldn't we get the list of zero blocks by just overloading get the list of change blocks? And I'm still sort of up in the air on that question, but
okay.
I expect we'll find a few more nitpicks as we go through it.
So is it important to get zero blocks? In the CAP, we propose two calls in the service. One is to get allocated blocks, and the other is to get changed blocks.
Right.
That's
what I mean. The allocated blocks one is not strictly necessary because you could get the same functionality by overloading the get change blocked RPC. I don't have a strong feeling about that.
I don't have a strong feeling. I just thought it would be clearer because it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's easier to document.
Yeah, if you can do it with one, probably will be easier. Is that There's just
really
is there another one? It's just one, right?
No,
it makes no difference.
Carl is suggesting we keep it as two because it's easier to document and explain it. And
yeah,
I can see that reasoning.
Okay, so maybe that's something we.
Yeah,
it makes the spec longer, and it means there's more legwork to do when things change.
Yeah, well, most of the vendor APIs I've seen have got separate APIs for these two. Maybe that's because they come from different subsystems, but that's historic, I guess.
Well, and well, the other crucial question would be like, is it legal to only implement one or the other and not both?
Oh, that would be illegal. I would think I'll put that down because we can debate on it forever, right? But I think I'll put it down as the straw man proposal, and then people can pull it apart if they want.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying, once we have the PR and we're going over it with a fine tooth comb, we'll probably find a few things to argue about, and it might take a couple of weeks to resolve and get it merged. So we should hurry up and do that if the goal is to have the release cut like in 2 months or something, or maybe less than 2 months. Like I don't know what the goal is for getting the next release cut. We certainly don't want to jeopardize the QoS work going on in Kubernetes.
Right, but I was under the impression that one can wait. That's, I don't know if you were in last meeting, Ben, in last SIG storage meeting.
I think I missed it, unfortunately.
Okay, sounds like people folks in that meeting, like Sunny and Michelle, they were all there. They're not saying they need that right away. So because otherwise we could do that first and then we can cut another release. We need this one, right? Well, but if we do not need the modified one so soon, then we can wait a little bit. Yeah.
I just want to understand, is QoS not targeted at Kubernetes?
Targeted for 1.29, yes, it is targeted, but I think we don't have to. The cap is sort of merged, right? So it's like implementation. So they probably do not need this one to be in so soon. They can wait a little bit at least.
But they need something by the end of 129.
Yeah. That definitely.
Okay.
So, but there's a cap freeze coming early, right? And then there's code freeze coming much later, right?
Okay.
So we'll see how long they can wait. But I think in terms of implementation, they are still at a very early stage. So yeah, they probably can. We can probably. I don't see the 1.29 release schedule yet because 1.28 was just out yesterday, right? So normally it's like a month after that we will get the cap freeze, but then the code freeze is much later. So yeah, we should have some time for that.
Yeah, so I would like to find the 129 schedule if anyone has it. I
think it's not published yet.
But that's my understanding as well.
Normally they're a little bit delayed. Let's see, just 1.29.
Okay. So anything else on the next CSI release or the change block tracking feature that we should discuss? Okay, that sounds like no. I put 2 small topics on here of my own. If anyone else has any other topics, go ahead and add them to the bottom of the agenda. I'll just launch into the stuff that was top of mind for me. So regarding the data populators feature, I feel like we've done a very good job of creating a populators framework that works for sort of community-defined data sources where the actual data population is done by some external component that just requires an empty volume to be created underneath. And then the data populator fills up the volume and then provides the volume to the end user, and they get that's sort of how the original feature was designed. That's half of the original feature, right? That there's a generalized framework for creating volumes that have data in them, and all the Kubernetes sort of controllers to make that happen. We sort of wrote that code, but we didn't do anything at the CSI level for populators. And the thinking was we only want to put changes in CSI where we can clearly explain what an SP is supposed to do and what a CO is supposed to expect. So we have things like snapshots, We have things like volume clones, but we've never come up with anything else at the CSI layer. So I was talking to an old coworker of mine about that they want to basically use the not exactly the data populators feature, but the data source feature in Kubernetes to implement like a proprietary data source. And I was trying to figure out like, how could anyone do this today? Where basically you want to have a data source that you create your volume from, but you don't want to go through the existing workflow of first creating an empty volume, and then having an external component fill it up, and then having it rebound and presented to the original requester. You really want the request to create the volume from this other data source to go all the way down to the SP, and then have the SP, create a volume that was never empty, that just initially has data in it, similar to the way we do snapshot clones and volume clones. And I was trying to figure out like, what could we do at the CSI level to enable that? Because after looking at, various other options, including, writing extra controllers that act like data populators, but don't actually follow the normal pattern, or, forking the external provisioner sidecar, all of the options looked very expensive and complicated. And I kept coming back to, we could do something at the CSI layer to enable this. But the problem is it would end up just being sort of like a wormhole in the API where, it would be some sort of opaque parameter that would get passed through that we couldn't really document what it means. And we've been opposed to that in the past. So I wanted to sort of throw this out to the group that if we have a CSI plugin that wants to implement some sort of proprietary custom data source, there is no good way to do that today. And data populator solves half of the problem on the Kubernetes side, and it solves all of the problem if you want to start from an empty volume and fill it up with some external controller. But it doesn't help you with this exact issue, where you just want to create a volume from some other thing, and you want to do it efficiently and quickly.
And this thing is a peer of the SP, you're saying, or a subsystem beneath the SP?
Yeah. So just to make this more concrete, the use case we were looking at is like doing a volume import. So like the volume somehow already exists somewhere, and the user just wants to basically import it into the CO. And so what they want to be able to do is create some object on the CO side, and then treat it as a data source for their new volume, and have the regular workflow occur where, you create a PVC, you point it at a data source, the external provisioner sees that request, and it sends a CSI create volume call down to the SP. But instead of getting an empty volume, like it just imports some volume that already exists, right? That's a specific case that we were looking at, like, how would you do that? And I couldn't come up with any good ways to do that didn't involve really gross hacks. And so that got me thinking that we haven't really completely addressed the use case of volume populators, because there is no way to basically write a proprietary one without forking the external provisioner sidecar, which is the only way I could think of making this work. And nobody wants to fork, major community components like that. So the only other idea I could come up with was like actually adding some sort of a wormhole in the create volume API where you could like pass some proprietary data source through. And I don't like that because it's hard to document, but I couldn't think of any other way to do this. So I wanted to throw that out there and see if anyone had any ideas. I don't really have any documents written about this. It's just sort of something that's been bubbling in the back of my mind.
Have you been following up with this namespace transfer thing? I thought they are actually going to update the provisioner. Which is leverage the publisher, right?
That's going to be like an upstream change that'll be community supported, right?
Right. I'm just saying that if that is there, then that could work, right? So that's because that is
well, it works for that specific feature, but like if someone just wants to have some proprietary data source that refers to something not in the system.
The thing becomes an SP specific, from what what I understand of your description, this is like an SP specific solution.
Yes.
Is it intended to be portable, or essentially it's a call out? Because if it's an SP specific thing, then I mean, if we want like an iocta-like interface in CSI, then you can define a totally opaque, pass what you want through it, and
right. Well, so nothing stops someone from sort of extending CSI with their own RPCs today. But the problem is, like, you would also have to extend the sidecar that talks to the RPCs. In this case, it would be the external provisioner to actually pass through whatever proprietary information you wanted. Like right now, there's not a way to sort of tell external provisioner, I want you to create a volume that's not empty and not a clone of a snapshot and not a clone of a volume, but it's like a fourth thing, right? The way we implemented populators was by telling the external provisioner sidecar to ignore things that it doesn't understand and assume that something else will create them. And then part of that creation will be a request for an empty volume that will get filled up and then rebound. So that works because the actual legwork of filling up the volume happens outside the SP. If you want to do the work of filling up the volume with data inside the SP, like there's not a good way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the tricky part, right? Because if it's outside the SP, it might even be outside the cluster. So there's no way.
Right. And I'm happy with that solution. Like I don't see any problems there. But where I see problems is like when someone wants to leverage this data source feature to like do a volume import or any other kind of create a volume from something in a proprietary way, there's really no path forward for them.
Yeah.
And that feels inadequate to me.
I mean, so if there's a non-portable way of doing, if you want a non-portable iocta-like interface, I think that could be one way out. I remember when Apollo years back, I know, when all their non-portable interfaces, they put an NP at the end of that, just to define things which were, portable across platforms and those which were not. So, user beware.
But this isn't going to be like a completely undocumented iocta style API because we would have to define it to the extent that the Kubernetes side could be written into external provisioner.
Agreed. I mean, the Kubernetes side, we have to guarantee semantics of that whatever is provisioned is immediately claimed by a PVC, so it can't be dynamically allocated to something else, all that stuff, right? I mean, that is crucial. You can't just fill up valuable data and throw it in the pool, right? So that has to be there.
Well, in this case, it would be like you would create some CR that represents like the volume that already exists with whatever the necessary details were. And then you would create a PVC that pointed at that CR as the data source. And the idea would be that should be instructions to the SP to just go find that volume and basically import it into Kubernetes and do whatever needs to be done to turn it into a PV. And then external provisioner will do the normal process where we'll bind the resulting PV to the PVC. Everyone will be happy. So the issue is that there is no way to like communicate the details of that data source through external provisioner, through the CSI interface down to the SP so that it can do it. And any attempt to sort of reach around and get that information through another channel is incredibly gross. Because I actually looked at doing this. Like I did some paper prototypes and everything was very, very complicated and messy. And that's why I thought we need to consider if there's a better way. Like maybe the answer is no, there is no better way, and then we're just forced to choose between having a wormhole in the API where you can just pass through some proprietary string to create volume that will trigger this behavior, or not supporting it at all. Those might be the only two choices, but I was hoping that someone had a third option in mind. So if no, I mean, I just wanted to sort of throw the idea out there and let people think about it.
Hey, Ben, I'm confused, but let me ask you a quick question. If what you want to do is create a volume from something already existing in the array, why can't you just do static provisioning and create a PV with a volume handle that points to an existing volume in the array? You'll go into volume create and it'll essentially be an idempotent call.
Yeah, well, so I was with you up until the last part. Like, it is possible to have your CSI plugin basically have a side door where you can say, like, I want to import this and do whatever's necessary, and then give me the PV details, then I will create that PV, and then you can manually bind a PVC to that PV. Like, that is doable, but that's sort of a complicated user interface, because there's a couple that you have to go in through a side door first of all, and something has to create a PV. I guess the plugin could do that for you, and then something has to bind the PVC to the PV, and it's not the same kind of a user interface as just creating a PVC that points to a data source.
Yeah, so you can now support wafer first consumer if you are doing static provisioning.
Yeah, like I think the like, if the answer is that we can't solve this at the CSI layer, or that we don't want to open up a hole in the create volume API for something proprietary, and I am very nervous about that. I don't like it. Then yes, you would be forced to go down that other path and basically treat it like a statically provisioned volume. But I mean, but there's other use cases where it really doesn't already. I mean, I'm trying to think in general about any proprietary data source. You could treat it like a statically provisioned volume, but it's not going to be that in all cases. There's going to be cases where you actually have to do some work and create a volume, and then I don't know what that would look like.
Yeah, I think if you want topology support, I think you will need to have the dynamic provisioning and have a wait for first consumer support. So
I couldn't hear the first part of that, Shing.
Oh, I'm saying if you want to have like topology support, or you want to have the wait for first consumer, then you need to have that type of dynamic provision and all of that. If static provision cannot solve that problem, that use case.
Yeah. Over time, Kubernetes has added a bunch of cool features like that you probably want to leverage, and do it through the data source framework, which is supposed to be, the main mechanism for doing data population. And so I think it would be a bit of a failure if at the end of all of this we said, look, there's just no way to do proprietary data sources, and you basically have to implement your own front end for that's outside Kubernetes. So that's the status quo, and it will remain the status quo until we come up with a better idea. I'm hoping we can come up with that better idea. So I wanted to mention it here in front of this group.
Somehow I thought we already made some changes in provisioner to accept this.
So I made a change to external provisioner when we introduced that data populators to just ignore a data source that it doesn't understand.
Oh, okay.
And that results in the correct behavior if you're using the regular data populators framework, because what will happen is you get a second PVC with no data source, and the external provisioner will react to that and create an empty volume, and then the data populator will do its work, and then it will rebind it and clean up. And so you get good behavior there, but the challenge is that the work has to be done external to the SP, and after an empty volume gets created. And if what you wanted was to just start from a volume that has data that was never empty, you can't actually do that. So a little bit disappointing for the data populators feature. I guess I'll ask everyone to just think about it. We can bring it up again next meeting, and if someone has had any ideas over the next month, we can talk about them. But that's all I had on that subject. So there is one more topic I wanted to mention, which is new. So with the release of the what are we calling it? Non-graceful node shutdown feature in Kubernetes that creates a way to deal with failed nodes in a way that slightly violates the CSI spec, but does it in a safe way that we're all happy with, I think. I'm going to propose removing the existing 6-minute force detach timeout that exists in Kubernetes, because it's worse in every way than just using the non-graceful node shutdown feature. And so I'm going to propose that we deprecate that upstream. I mean, this has nothing to do with CSI, but I figured this crowd may be interested, and I wanted to socialize it here.
But why you want to deprecate that for normal cases?
Pardon?
It's a, if it's a non-graceful node shutdown, you're not waiting for the 6 minutes, but why you want to get rid of that in normal cases, the six minute wait?
But because it can cause problems, right? Like when that 6 minute timer fires and the node is not down, you get all the bad behavior that you would normally get if you did a force detach while the node was still alive. And so there was a change made, I think, a couple of years ago to only do that behavior when the node was marked not healthy. But
I think the check is still there. There was a check. The check is still there, not healthy.
Yeah. The check is there. But what I'm saying is the check, the nodes can be marked incorrectly unhealthy, right? You can have a node marked unhealthy that's actually healthy, and the 6 minute timer will kill you in that situation. And so what I'm saying is, when you actually have a node that's down, you should be using the non-graceful node shutdown feature. You shouldn't be waiting for 6 minutes for that timer to fire. So we'll just remove.
Yes, you want to get rid of the
I want to get rid of the 6 minute timer and tell people use the non-graceful node shutdown feature, because that's how you're supposed to fix that. The situation of my node is down and I want to get my volumes force detached, right?
Yeah, that one is, well, the difference is that one is automatic. This one is not automatic. You have to add a taint, right? Non-graceful node shutdown, you have to go at the taint. So then people who
but the non-graceful node shutdown is better, right? Because it allows you to accurately represent the state.
Yeah, but you have to, but it's like you're changing a automatic behavior to a non-automatic behavior now, right?
Yes.
That will be the downside. That's like a change of behavior. I don't know if anyone is relying on that already, but
so my argument is anyone who is relying on it should start using the non-graceful node shutdown feature, and Kubernetes has a year-long deprecation period, so it'll go through the year-long deprecation period if my change is accepted. So I just wanted to sort of mention that again in front of this group, to say that, I think non-graceful node shutdown feature is a way better way to deal with nodes going down than just waiting 6 minutes and letting the trigger automatically fire. And there are cases where that trigger fires incorrectly, and it's causing problems for people here at Google.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you probably want to, also document, exactly what was the problem, right?
Yeah.
That has been there for forever. I don't know when those added for years. So people probably are, familiar with that behavior. Suddenly it's not there. Then,
we will have to explain. There will be release notes, and we'll make the case for it. I just wanted to let people know that that's something that I'm going to push for in the 129 release.
I want to ask you, Ben, you have a proposal that can work together with the non-graceful node shutdown, which makes it more automatic. I know you have this CSI spec change.
Yes.
Are you going to push that again?
I do intend to push that again, but that's going to require a lot of work, and I haven't had time to do it. And so this is sort of
because it would be great. Because I would like to have the non-graceful node shutdown to be really automatic. Right now, it's a manual thing. If we can make it a little bit more automatic, at least, let's say there is a config thing. If you enable that one, it will be automatic, right? If you accept this. But right now,
so that is
always
also
require manual information.
But
I know that Tom also, they have something as well. So Ben, if you get some time to go back to that, will be good to, for us to work on that again.
I want to find the time to do that and push that through.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be 129, but
that's okay. And but it'll be good to eventually make it really automatic.
Okay. So that's all I have to say on that topic. Xing, you added a topic about
snapshot size? I added this one because recently we are looking at the snapshot quota. So we started looking at, but this is actually an issue that I noticed even before that. So we have this snapshot size. I know that, everyone on this call probably familiar with this one, Ben, you are very familiar with this. We talked about this a lot. Supposedly we're saying the snapshot size can change. It may not be the same as the original PVC size because, you are not really using the same, the complete provision size to write, right? So that's why we have the snapshot size, which may be smaller than the provision size. But however, so I think currently, I think everyone is using this one differently. One thing I found out is actually, if you let's say you report report the the allocated size, basically how much your volume is written, right? Not the full provision size in this here. And then you're trying to create a PVC from it. But if you're using this smaller size to create a PVC, actually you won't be able to use that volume because that's not how the data is laid out, because it was, it's not like they're all together in this like 1G if you have like 10G volume. So when you provision a PVC, you actually still need to have the original volume size to provision. It's just when logical size still has to be the 10G. It's just your user size is this 1G. So it's the two things.
So that's true for block volumes, but like CSI isn't limited to block volumes, right? So
for the files, sometimes some of them they don't even report the size, right? That's different, right? So if they're not really report the size, that's a different thing. But what I'm saying is I'm thinking that we actually should have another size field to record the original PVC, the logical size. So otherwise people are very confused.
I'm trying to read the text. So you copy paste.
I think that, yeah, I think I think there was some confusion at that time because we did mean to say, hey, this is how much the real how much you're used when you create another PVC. That is what is needed, but that is actually not totally true, which proved, later on I found out that it was not true, right? So I was initially, I think, also didn't think through about this one. When you create a PVC, actually, you can't just use this.
I remember having a detailed discussion about this, and I thought we got to the right answer. So I'm
no, but this is, yeah, but if I don't know if anyone has, so Ben, actually the person who actually told me about, so the thing is when we implement this on our driver, we just report the logical side, which is, so we never run into problem, but somebody else actually used the NetApp driver, your previous, that driver, they actually, because that driver, I don't know if that's current behavior at that time, at least it was reporting the allocated size. And then they were trying to do a restore, trying to, create PVC with that size, and they can't really use that volume. So I actually would like to, and I see that the car,
well, hold on. I'm still trying to understand what the concern.
The problem is, so you're okay. Let me add a little bit more here. So what I was trying to say is, so let's say, where's the file again? Oh, here.
Okay, I want to ask, are you saying that like some drivers do the wrong thing and they're buggy? And what we need
this is more like how you are using. This is more like how you're using it to create a PVC from a snapshot. So it's more like the backup vendor or somebody who is trying to use this field, how they're using it, right? So that's what that's why we need this field, right? Why do we even need this field, right? This is basically just record how much data is written.
Yeah, right. So like if you had a 10 gig SAN-based volume and only had 2 gigs of data in it, and you take a snapshot of it, you still need to create a 10 gig volume to restore that, or to clone that snapshot, because it was a block-based volume and
yes,
the snapshot was of the block.
Yeah, but I think that's the confusion, right? Some people just look at the restore size, because that's also, I think maybe some of the language when you change a little bit. There was somewhere, maybe it is in the Kubernetes and not here. Let's see, complete size, where is the figure guarantee?
Well, so
you see how much space so there's confusion, right? So how much size is see what here it says is needed to create a volume from the snapshot, how much space, but there is the logical size which is not described here. So I think
the problem is that last sentence, the size of 0 means unspecified. So
but that is it is possible. Some driver does not know. They do not have a size at all, even like creation time.
0 here. Like you're
so I think Ben, I think actually let's maybe put that the 0 part aside for now, because that's something different. Like NFS, some of those they don't really report anything. They just, that's why it is like a 0, right? But let's just consider like a normal, let's say block, right? It's a block volume, but then it's the rewrite once, right? So but there's a file system on it, right? So in that case. So when you create a PVC, you actually need Need
Needs
set
to be 10 gigs.
need to be 10. Yes, yeah, but that's but because of the way we are it is not only here, but also in the in Kubernetes API. I think we're talking about, hey, this is the restore size. So people are thinking, oh, then when I create a PVC from it, wait, I only need one. But then you can't even write, you can't even read it, right? So I was thinking, another thing I was thinking, maybe we should actually also save the original PVC size or something like logical size here, make it more
That's
clear.
what this field was intended to be. I really think
no, this is like how much is written, right? I think if you read it's complete size. Okay, let's see.
When I read this text, it says how much space is needed to create a volume from this snapshot. The size of the volume must not be less than the size of the snapshot. So like in this case, it
must not be less than the size of the world.
If it's a block
snapshot, right?
Gigs, then it must be that you have to create a 10 gig PVC in order to restore it. Like,
but because I remember at that time there was a lot of discussion talking about, hey, this size can change. If we are talking about size can change, if it's always like 10, then it will never change, right? So that's the thing. I remember during that conversation. That's why I'm reading this as the allocated size.
Yes,
so I
get that the text is unclear, but
so we need to talk about this one. Maybe even like have some examples somewhere. I don't know if maybe even here, even give us some examples in the at least
we can clarify this text. I support that, but I think the underlying problem that you're getting at is some SPs are implementing it wrong.
So are you saying you believe this one should just always return 10?
No. If it's like an NFS volume, and you've created it at 10 gigs, and the snapshot only had 1 gig of data in it, it's perfectly reasonable to say, yeah, you could restore that with like a 1 gig PVC for NFS, right?
So so then that make it very I think people are like, it's like they don't really
know. So I think the problem is that like we were trying to capture all that nuance in this language, and it didn't get communicated clearly.
I wonder if we should also maybe give some examples. I don't know if maybe that would be better.
Examples would help, but what would help more would be conformance tests, right? If we had tests in like CSI Sanity or somewhere else that went through this process of creating a volume of a certain size and then filling it partway with data and then taking a snapshot and then looking at the size of the snapshot and then trying to clone that snapshot with that size, like drivers that did the wrong thing would fail and you would catch it in the test, right? Like I think the best way to prevent bugs, which is what I assume happened on the NetApp side, if NetApp is doing the wrong thing here, is it's just a bug, is to have a test that would fail if the driver is not doing the right thing, and tell everyone, hey, go run this test. Because for NFS, it's a lot more flexible. For block volumes, like effectively what you want is what was the size of the original volume. So I support rewriting the words to be clear.
Okay.
As long as we sort of agree that we're not trying to change the meaning, we're trying to clarify what the original meaning was.
Yeah, but on the other hand, having the allocated size would be useful, because right now I'm actually looking at what do we do with the snapshot quota. So if this one just, let's say, okay, we're saying if this is block volume, then this should always just return 10G, right? That's what we are just talking about. In that case, I wouldn't know the allocated size, because my allocated size may be just 1. I also want to find that information, but that could be another topic. That's fine. I mean, maybe we should let's agree on this one first.
The get, we have a get volume stats RPC, right? That would tell you.
That volume stat, that's just a volume, right? But I want to know the snapshot, like how much is written, how much is because the snapshot is actually not 10. At least on our storage, that's the case. Snapshot won't.
Okay. So
when you take a snapshot, the snapshot size will be 1 actually. What I'm talking about, the allocated size, right?
Yeah.
When you create a volume for it, of course.
How would the CO use that information?
I'm sorry?
How would the CO use that information?
Oh, so that is for quota. I was talking about quota. That I know that we don't really support quota. That's something that was I was trying to figure out how to solve
okay.
it.
So let me
But not
understand.
there yet.
You're saying in the case where you have a 1 gig or a 10 gig volume with only 1 gig of data in it, that this size field has to be 10 gigs because that's the actual minimum size to restore that snapshot. You're saying you want there to be another field that says 1 gig that the CO could consume and then run into some sort of a quota calculation.
Right. Allocated.
But the issue I see there is like you don't get this information until after the snapshot has been created, and so
so it will be in the status. It will be in the status, right? It will be in the status, right? So in Kubernetes, it will be in the status. This is not like ahead of time. Even this one is also in the status. This is not
right.
Ahead of time.
So how would we implement a quota system that only knows that you're over the limit after you've gone over the limit?
That's something that we need to discuss, right? So that's something that you can actually predict. So okay, for example, right? So for example, in my case, I can actually go check it. I know, okay, I'm going to take a snapshot of this PVC. I know that the snapshot this PVC only has 1 G written. So I know that the allocated size is 1. So I can actually, then I can check, hey, how much is, what is the quota? What's the total usage at this point? I can decide, right? So I need to make a call basically to find out. Then I will know whether I can create.
You're saying you would use the new size field of all of your existing snapshots, and then you would do like a get volume stats on the volume that you're about to snapshot to see how
something like that. Well, we don't have that. I'm just saying that, so I'm trying to retrieve that, and then or otherwise it could be, well, if it's part of the create snapshot, that's even better. But that's something internally, if the driver.
I guess my worry there is that, like, how much space is logically used inside the volume doesn't always translate into something that you want to manage in your quota system, because a lot of storage systems will have deduplication and space efficient features such that you could have hundreds and hundreds of snapshots all with like 1 gig used, and at the end of the day there's only 1 gig that's actually used because of all this.
But that's why I will be only retrieving the 1 gig. I think I see what you're saying. That's actually a good point. So if I
I don't know if this gives you the number you really want. That's what I'm getting at.
So what I need actually is like a total. I don't really need like individual ones, right? But I think that's actually a very good point. Okay, let me write note, because this one actually
something like the get capacity one that says get space used by snapshots.
Let's say if there are 2.
But the issue there is like, how do you scope it?
The total.
In general, like if you have a bunch of snapshots and you want to know how much space they're using, like calculating that number is very expensive because it's constantly changing, right? Like snapshots are like these space efficient objects, and whether they're space efficient or not depends on whether the volume that they were snapshotted from like has changed since the snapshot happened. And so any given write to the storage system can make the snapshot consume more space. And so that number is constantly in flux. And if you want to get it, you have to do some expensive scan of the.
I think that depends on how your system is implemented, right? So it could be snapshot size changing. It could be the your volume size, your running point changing.
What I'm saying, if you want the actual,
I think the total makes more sense. I think especially this case, right? So this one I was actually didn't think about that a minute ago. Now I think this is really, really good point. So even if I have the size recorded in every snapshot, then there's going to be double count if I just sum that. So the best way for this one is just to find out just from one volume, what are all the use space for that one volume, right? So something like that. This way I will not double count at least.
So I can ask a dumb question.
Yeah.
How are you going to use, what is the intent of using this data? I mean, I'm approaching it from a backup vendor perspective. And for us, the contract is when we restore the app, we provision it in the same way it was provisioned, right? And I assume that would be how we'd use we'd want to create a PVC with the right size, etc., as it was before. and restore the snapshot.
What are you talking? Are you looking at the new field we're discussing, or this field, the existing field? Which one?
No, I'm looking at what you were writing all this time.
I was just thinking out loud.
Ignore me. Like I said, it's a dumb question. I mean,
so for you, right? I think for you, basically, it's like the SP will be kind of handling this already, or CO, right? So depending on where the quota is implemented, so you won't be able, if you don't have enough quota, then you can't take a snapshot when you do a backup.
All right, fair enough. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think you need to call this one. At least I don't think normally backup system should not be the one who is taking care of the quota, right?
Yeah.
But you want to, delete them if you don't need them. Yeah. So maybe, okay. So I think, so Ben, you're saying maybe it's actually better to have something like a get capacity, so get like a total or something like that will be more efficient.
So yeah, I guess what I'm saying, trying to ask the system how much space is like actually used by any given snapshot is a hard problem.
My purpose, my goal is just, I want to know the total. I'm not even interested. I didn't, but I forgot this question, right? Until you mentioned this one. Definitely, that's a very good point. But I only need the total so that I want to know whether I can create or not, right? Or even for volume, actually, not just for snapshot, even for volume, because right today we just have this provisioned, that thing. We're not really looking at how much is really used. Okay, have a get capacity. Yeah, something like that, like total, right? Something.
I think
what is the better way, but
so in your case, is this like snapshot usage tallied up per volume, and all you care about is like all of the snapshots on a given volume and their size?
I want to know from the total point of view, because I have this capacity. Let's say I have
across the whole storage system.
Let's say per example, per namespace. Right now we have that, right? Let's say I have something. Let's say I have this capacity per namespace. Okay. How do I know I can still keep creating and not go beyond, basically?
Yeah, the problem is CSI knows nothing of namespaces, so like any sort of a
right. That's the issue. I'm just giving an example, right? So let's just say, so there is some quota, right? Let's say there is a quota given. We do have quota for sort class, right? Today in Kubernetes, there's resource quota, but that's only for the PVCs. So we have that already. There's
you can create limits on like the number of snapshots a user or you can create, right? It's going to say like 10 snapshots.
That's not, but that one, it's not good enough.
Right.
Because it's not telling the size, right? Just as you said, right? You create 2 and create 1. In this case, it's the same.
but the problem is that doing better than that is really hard.
I just trying to figure out. I also, it would be interesting if you guys actually have did something. Yeah, I know I actually brought this up at one of the CSI, Kubernetes CSI meeting as well. Yeah, so it's kind of hard.
It might be easier to do any kind of enforcement sort of at the storage system level, where you can set complicated policies and say, no more than X amount of space can be used for snapshots for this volume or for this group of volumes, and have a way of having the storage system track all that and do the enforcement. Because having all the information that you would need to implement a good policy filter back from the SP through CSI to Kubernetes and then do the logic of the Kubernetes side, it's going to be fundamentally like storage system specific, because everyone's going to do this a little differently. It's going to be hard to have a generalized mechanism that would let you write a generalized quota system that would work for every storage system. And so I think
definitely. I know this is definitely a hard problem
in the storage system. I think
there was actually I believe last time Yang actually talked to somebody who is very familiar with the Kubernetes quota system, just trying to figure out how do we even enforce that for number of snapshot. Even that is like a big project. I think he writes some notes about that.
Really? You can't just create a limit object and limit the number of snapshots?
No, you can, but I think if you want to. There is something for the number of snapshot. But I think I remember he writes something up for how to enforce that one with the core quota that we have a quota mechanism in Kubernetes. Yeah, and there is actually already you can already specify the number of snapshots that's already there actually, but he did write up something for that one.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe the number of snapshots not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's really not needed. But he did write up something for that, saying what we need to do. But it's like a big project. You need to use also we can leverage the cell and also they're saying that the control logic should be in the core KK because that way it's optimized. So that's a note.
But I don't think there's any way to do that in the snapshot case because
no, it's not. But that's why he was talking about we need to have some CR when you do this and that, things like so. It's a little. We could use the cell, there was the cell thing, right? So somehow you leverage that one.
Okay.
To do the calculation or something. But we didn't really go move forward because I'm really interested in the capacity. Even if we have that, it's not really capacity. So
right.
Yeah.
So just we have about 5 minutes left. So
yeah, the action item. I'm just saying action item for this one. I want to say the definitely we want to. I want to. Okay, that's just for me. Okay.
We should clarify what size bytes means. And we should have some sort of test that people can run to see if their driver does the right thing, right?
Right. Test. Send test. Yeah, I think the first thing, of course, is the clarify because I think right now this is just all over the place.
And if you know of specific drivers, like if NetApp is one of them that is doing the wrong thing, like file a bug immediately.
Oh, but I didn't use it. Somebody told me that
okay.
So I don't think I'm the right person to file the bug because then I can't provide more information.
No, whoever's using it and getting the wrong behavior.
Yeah. I will pass the information. It depends on if those people want to fight. Sometimes people just they found a workaround. They just move on. They don't want to spend time finding bugs. That's this problem, right? But yeah, but I will definitely whoever has the problem, I'll let them know. So actually that's this one, but this one I think just need more thought. I'm not really looking for something immediately, but just I think I will think about this one, right? So this is the immediate action item. So this one is just having more thought in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Okay. We got a couple minutes left. Does anyone have anything else? Going once. Going twice. All right.
So Ben, I think I was a little confused earlier about the recording. Okay, so yeah, if you can just give me that. Once you have the file, it's recording in your local on your machine probably, right? If you can just.
I don't know. I'll look into.
Yeah, you can then I can upload. I kind of forgot about this one. Yeah, since we don't really have this meeting this way.
Yeah, it says Saad normally handles it, and I'm just.
Yeah, I forgot that we have this, but yeah, just give me the file. I can upload it. Yeah.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
All right, thanks everyone. See you in 4 weeks.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.